to talk to David Tafuri, former Obama campaign foreign policy advisor and former UN and State Department official. David, thank you so much for being with us. First of all, what do you make of the criticism that's being hurled at the president about some saying he should have canceled these trips?
Well, I don't think it holds any water. You know, the president was on a historic trip to Cuba and to Argentina. He was there for state dinners and to do diplomacy. Most of the trip was work. There were some, fun parts of a trip like that, but including working with and entertaining with leaders of other countries. He did a tango in Argentina. It was spontaneous. It just happened. It was the day after the terrorist attacks in Brussels. And this is part of diplomacy. The president can't just give up his job because a bombing happened in one country on the other side of the ocean. There are bombings and terrorist attacks all over the world. Life goes on. The president has given it appropriate consideration. The president was on top of it. The president has given appropriate statements like the one you just played, where he said we need to respond strongly, but we need to respond consistently with our values.
So, David, let me ask you, as a former campaign foreign policy advisor, what do you think we should be hearing from candidates on the trail right now about this bombing and our national security?
Well, there's two basic parts to the response. One is the law enforcement angle, which is we need to make sure that we are protecting our country, the homeland, against terrorist attacks similar to the terrorist attack in Brussels. And we need to work with our European partners to help protect against further terrorist attacks in Europe and to help track down those who are responsible. That's happening. The second part is fighting ISIS where it is. If you had ants and you had a problem with ants and you fought the ants each time a couple ants came into your house, that would be one way to do it. But you could also walk outside to where the anthill is and attack the ants where they're based. And so we need to be trying to defeat ISIS in its headquarters, particularly in Raqqa, Syria, and in Mosul, Iraq. And so that's the second part. What is the plan to defeat ISIS on the ground? I don't mean to minimize what's happening, because a lot is happening on the ground in Iraq and in Syria, mostly airstrikes, also some special forces operations like the one we saw this week. But there needs to be a full plan to take back Mosul and push ISIS out of its stronghold in Mosul and then in Raqqa. And we need to fight them on the ground. If we don't, we'll keep developing terrorists and fighters who come to Europe and come to the U.S. and plan attacks like the one in Brussels.
David, a lot of people are watching the news, and this is the time of year when they're planning their summer vacations and their travel, and Europe is on a lot of people's itinerary. What is the State Department saying about U.S. travel to Europe?
Well, the State Department has given a warning about travel to Europe. I don't believe it's advised people not to go to Europe, but it said you need to be careful. You need to look at what country you're going to. You need to look at the current security situation. Obviously, in Belgium, it's a very significant and serious security situation. In other countries that haven't been attacked, haven't experienced attacks, it remains very safe. Life goes on. We need to continue to travel. We can't give up all the things that we do just because there's been, one or two terrorist attacks in Europe, but we need to be careful. You need to plan trips smartly and need to be very suspicious of anyone who looks like they might be suspicious, looks like they might be planning to harm you.
Be very vigilant and aware of what's around you. So, David Tafuri, we appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you.